let's talk a little bit about another team that we all had ranked pretty highly coming into this game, but that had a little bit more of a disappointing performance. Illinois at home, coming off of a pretty thrilling comeback win in Madison Square Garden against number 2 Texas on, what was that, Tuesday night? It feels like that might have been like a month ago. Going to Tuesday night, lost at home to Penn State by 15 in a performance that did not offer a ton of inspiration for people like our producer, Trevor, who is a big Illinois fan. And after the game, when Brad Underwood went to the podium, he had some pretty harsh words for Asim Dig, and I think we can cue up the sound on that now.
Brady, you've talked a lot about TJ's leadership since he's gotten here.
That's what I thought of that today.
What has changed the last 2 games? Obviously, regulation, he's got 8 points.
I don't know. Ask him. He brought it for 2 days in practice. I've told our staff he was going to be terrible today. For 2 days. For 2 days. Show you how. You guys know I don't usually come in here like this after a loss. But I'm just telling you, our approach to this game right now is immature, and it lacks complete 100% lack of leadership. And if I got to go back to leading again, this team's in trouble. Somebody on this team's got to step up.
All right, McCall, you heard it. Brad Underwood coming at his guys in a press conference, and specifically Terrence Shannon in that press conference. You've been in more locker rooms and more press conferences specifically on that side than Jeff and I have. What kind of risk does it play when you call out a player like that? Is that something that, could it have some negative effects? How do you feel about what Underwood said there and how he kind of handled that situation?
I think it could have more negative effects if they weren't having success, right? I think if you had lost to Texas, or they're sitting here looking at 500, and as a head coach, you go in there and call your players out like that, I think it could have way more of a negative effect. I think this completely goes back to the Texas game. I think probably, and here's what fans don't understand, just everything that goes into prepping for these games, and the amount of work and the amount of film you watch. And as a head coach, you watch twice as much film as your assistant coaches. And I'm sure in practice, his guys were feeling themselves a little bit, and he knew it. And that's why he did what he did in the press conference, because he knew it. And I'm sure he tried to address it in practice, and they probably said, we're at home, we're going to be fine, don't worry about it, coach, we're fine. And he knew his team was complacent and didn't respond to the Texas victory the right way. When they're running off the court, going horns down, hey guys, we're going to celebrate this, we're going to enjoy this win, but tomorrow it's back to work, because we've got a very good, and credit Mike Shrewsbury and Penn State, right? Jalen Pickett, I mean, unbelievable job, unbelievable win. But Coach Underwood knew his team got complacent after Texas, and that's why he did what he did. I think sometimes, too, the game, you put so much into it, the game's so emotional, and as a coach, you go into the locker room knowing, and you're frustrated with your team because they didn't respond the right way, and then you've got to turn around and go right to the podium and address the media. Your emotions are still running high, and sometimes you've got to catch your breath and not say something in the moment, not be emotional in the moment. And I'm sure that happened. But to me, I don't think it's just a direct shot at Shannon. I think it's a direct shot at his whole team, because I think leading up to this game, he knew his team got a little complacent after doing what they did against Texas. And he was frustrated with that. And his frustration came out in that press conference after how his team performed.
It felt a little bit like an "I told you so," Jeff. It
Yeah,
felt a
that's
little
exactly
bit like
what
he
it was.
basically like, look, we talked about this in practice. Like I told you this was going to happen if you didn't show up ready to play. I told you that was a good team. I'm sure that Illinois sitting there feeling themselves like, we got Penn State. That's Penn State, right? We just beat the number 2 team in the country. We're playing Penn State. This ain't football, right? It's Penn State. And they come in, they get their asses kicked.
I'll say this too. If you're going to do it to somebody, you're going to be able to do it to a player who's already played for Chris Beard and Mark Adams.
That's a good point.
Right? Like, Terrence Shannon's not going to be fazed by this at all. And to be honest, he can't play like he has for, other than one overtime period, he has not played well here for the last 2 games. He can't do that. We saw that against Virginia in Vegas. didn't play well, they lost. Didn't play well tonight, they lost. They were lucky as hell to beat Texas. Lucky as hell, and Brad knew that. And he knew they got away with one there. And then tonight, yeah, I think, again, I think he's looking at this and saying, you know what, like, I got this new team. And he said it after the game the other night, like, I don't know my team yet at all. And he's got to push some buttons here and try to figure out what's going to motivate these guys that all came from different programs. What can he do with Terrence Shannon? Does this work? Because Terrence Shannon needs to be more of an alpha dog. He needs to be more vocal. That's never been his role at Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, too, you can't give up 12 threes at home, right? I mean, Penn State made 12 threes. They shot 50% from the three-point line in your building.
Right.
So I'm sure as a defensive-minded coach, too, who, you know, their values are toughness and aggressiveness, and a defensive-minded coach, man, they get 12 for 24 from the three-point line. I mean, that's a recipe for a loss.